You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionFit.com. Old trading walks into a bar. New trading raises it. That's Tasty Trade. Keep focused with news feeds that matter. See opportunity differently in analysis mode. Chart your heart out with over 300 indicators. Plus, you can get low pricing, lots of education, and a support team that really gets how traders trade. It's no wonder Investopedia named Tasty Trade the best broker for options in 2024. Genius loves company. Go to tastytrade.com/podcasts and see for yourself. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are kicking off a brand new trading year here on the old Option Block and indeed on the old Options Insider Radio Network, even if technically we kicked off our broadcast year already on Friday with a little bit of the old vol views. But of course, this is the official commencement for the old OB season. Of course, it is the first full trading week of the new year. Hope you had an awesome New Year's holiday. Hope your 2025 was great, and we hope your 2026 was and indeed is even better. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which all of you folks have been mainlining a great year on the network. We have to thank all of you out there for contributing to all of that. If you listen to one episode, or if you listen to all 500 plus releases we had last year, probably more. We thank you all out there. We literally couldn't have done it without you. Of course, 2 new shows being added to the fray last year, so why not have more fun? Check out the full network wherever you're getting your favorite podcasts. And of course, if you want a little extra fun, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. Congrats to Eric. Gave away a pro trading crate on our Vol View show. The first time we've ever done that. Congrats to, I believe it was Eric Sanders, who won that one, the big December pro trading crate. And joining me for this first episode of the old OB for the new trading year. First, we go out to the hinterlands of Chi-Town, known as St. Charles. We are joined once again by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, welcome back to the show, sir.
Happy New Year to all.
Happy New Year indeed. And then also joining us, he is back from his global sojourn and ready to rock. He is the rockingest of lobsters himself, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. Mr. G, welcome back and Happy New Year to you as well, sir.
It is good to be back in the seat as we have some options to block today, I believe.
I believe we do, but before we get there, listeners, it is time for some very important business. It is time to reveal the results of the 2025 80s Trivia Challenge. Here we go. A lot of ways I thought about doing this because I know a lot of people have fun. Folks asking in the chat, does the trivia game go until Jan expiration? No, it expires at the end of the year. So no more shots for anybody on the old Trivia Challenge this year. Let me do a quick little rundown of the odyssey, the journey that was our Trivia Challenge in 2025. Then I shall reveal the winner, listeners. We kicked it off last year. Beginning of the year, not much. We were still trying to figure out what the new Trivia Challenge would be. We didn't really get guessing again until the end of January 27th. At the time, Uncle Mike guessed the launch date for Jeopardy in 1984. He got a point out of the gate, so it looked good for him. Then we were still doing some 80s wrestling, apparently, because the Rock Lobster came back on February 3rd to get Hulk Hogan in the naming. Got a half a point for him for naming him as part of the Royal Rumble. February 10th, everybody whiffed on the top 10 Super Bowl teams, which was interesting. Again, that's around Super Bowl time. We were off the following week for President's Day. Then on February 24th, we started the official Trivial Pursuit incarnation of this game, something the Rock Lobster had been requesting for some time. We finally tracked down one of the old vintage blue sets of the 80s Trivial Pursuit. If you were around in the 80s, you've ever seen them, you know what we're talking about. We're rocking one of those for the rest of the year. That first game out of the gate, Tosaw also coming out hot. He got a point for airbags. And then on March 3rd, the Rock Lobster was on assignment, and that cost him dearly because Dan Passarelli subbed in, and he got a full point for Stanley Kubrick directing Spartacus, his one and only point on the year, but he managed to get on the list for the rest of the year. And then we had some travel going on. Our next show was March 17th. Uncle Mike getting 1 point for guessing amen is the final word of the Bible. Kind of an easy one, but a good one nonetheless. Rock Lobster coming back on the 24th. 1 point for Archimedes saying eureka, coming up with that term. And then also 1 point for the Rock Lobster for Richard Nixon having a scar. So at the end of March, the end of Q1, listeners, Tosaw was actually in the lead, 3 points to 2.5. Dan, a distant third with 1 point. Then the Rock Lobster started turning it up. April 7th, he got a point for Kirk Douglas. He got a half point April 14th for the first of many infamous appearances of wrist wrestling, listeners. The Rock Lobster got it with half a point. The more travel from OIC, I believe, in April. And then Andrew coming back again. The Olympics logo getting a full point there. Uncle Mike, May 5th, half point for Darth Vader. We had a couple no-shows. People were sick, and then we had Memorial Day. So Andrew coming back June 2nd with his, I guess Andrew got all the wrist wrestling points. He got another half point for wrist wrestling yet again. One of the themes of last year, listeners, was the preponderance of wrist wrestling. And then Rock Lobster coming back June 9th with Peggy Fleming getting the gold medal, and also Boy Scouts meeting at Jamborees. So by mid to end of June, Rock Lobster had taken a commanding lead, 6.5 points to 3.5. Tosaw hadn't scored a full point since mid-March. So it was looking not great for him. Tosaw coming out of the gate, though, a little bit better with Mickey Mantle. And then Tosaw on July 14th, he got the closest on a Scrabble board. That's what we have to know. I forgot exactly what that question was. So it was still, though, after coming into later on, it was still, actually, no, I take it back. Andrew got Mickey Mantle. So it was 8.5 points for Andrew, 4.5 for Tosaw. Rock Lobster continued in July. He got a point for Roberto Duran. Everybody screwed up on Monaco and cribbage on July 28th. We had some road trips on August 4th. Andrew, on the 11th, he got a point for balking in baseball. Uncle Mike coming back August 18th, half a point for Buckingham Palace. Then you guys went on just a cold streak. 25th of August, 8th, September 15th, nobody got any points. You kept whiffing and whiffing and whiffing. Finally, September 22nd, somebody got a point again. It was Andrew for boxing. October 6th, Rock Lobster again for the OAS acronym, Organization of American States. October 13th, Uncle Mike finally back on the board. He got the clue board, the guess for the clue board. So coming into October 20th, it was not looking good for Uncle Mike. 12.5 points for the Rock Lobster, only 6 for Uncle Mike. After coming out of the gate hot, he kind of fell out. And then Dan's still hanging out there third, 1 play. Coming into October, Andrew got half a point for Great Britain. And the U.S. flags over the Virgin Islands had to name 2 flags there. Rock Lobster, November 3rd, 1 point for Candlestick Park. We're getting to the time of the year where Uncle Mike had to really hit them all out of the park. And you'll see November 10th, he came back. He got a point for professional wrestling because, of course, he did. If Uncle Mike isn't going to get a point for professional wrestling, what are we doing here? November 17th, Uncle Mike strikes again, 1 point for the Harlem Globetrotters. And then we have on November 24th, Uncle Mike strikes yet again, 1 point for the Kansas City Chiefs, losing the first ever Super Bowl. December 1st, Uncle Mike strikes again, starting to look a little better for him. Uncle Mike got a point for the World Series of Poker location being Las Vegas. December 8th, Uncle Mike again, 1 point for the 7th inning stretch, starting to get a little bit closer as we're getting into mid-December, though. Uncle Mike still had some work to do. Rock Lobster was leading 14-11. Dan had 1 point. And then when Uncle Mike really needed to hit them all out of the park the rest of the year, Rock Lobster came in on the 15th, got a point for Babe Ruth as the Sultan of SWAT. And that was kind of the final nail in Uncle Mike's coffin. Then Rock Lobster came back again December 22nd with a point for sumo wrestling. Tosaw got one uncontested last week, 1 point for the Olympics. But it was not enough, listeners, dear listeners, to turn the tide. And with that, listeners, we can reveal the results of the 2025 Trivia Challenge. In third place, a distant third, Mr. Dan Passarelli with 1 point. In second place, the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw with 12 points. That means the winner and the champion for 2025, the Rock Lobster himself, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi, with 16 points. Mr. Rock Lobster, you took a lot of umbrage last year. It was a lot of back and forth, but you started second half of the year really to assert your dominance. This is the game you asked for, the game you always wanted. You finally got it, sir, and you emerged victorious. How does it feel?
It does feel good, although I do hear some odd background music somewhere.
More unlicensed trivia associated music.
Trivia associated music. It feels good. I'm ready for 2026. What trivia will you bring this year?
That's a good question. That's why we don't have a game yet today, because we want to figure out what we want to do for this coming year. Kind of a lot of fun ideas out there. And then, of course, there's I had one idea that, because last year was Uncle Mike was losing, so it was very monolithic on the sports and leisure, which ended up not working out well for him. But we could do something else. Maybe we could allow a bit of a dealer's choice where I choose the categories, or I thought we could also have a poll every Monday, let the listeners choose which category you folks battle in every day. So we can keep it the Trivial Pursuit, because quite frankly, it's the most fair and arbitrary way to do it. It's not me coming up with categories all the time. It also saves us from having to come up with trivia questions every week. But that's an idea. What do you guys think of that? Have the listeners choose which category you folks fight on every week?
To be honest, I couldn't hear you. There's a lot of background.
Tell you what,
yeah, same here.
I'll turn down the sweet, sweet music. So there we go. I was just trying to celebrate Rock Lobster's victory.
And I am thrilled that we are celebrating a victory. And I feel like the Cubs waiting 86 years for a World Series victory.
You were looking pretty.
Congratulations, Andrew. You're the champion.
You had a long dry spell. I even tried to throw you a few bones in the previous games, giving you questions like Bob Vila and woodworking. You still whiffed on those.
There was no. I'll just say the domination there in the old the dark wrestling days was very similar to what actual wrestling in the 80s did look like, where certain characters just dominated. They would go in and they would win. Who knew? Like, all these guys would just keep winning like that.
You're saying that Bob from Iowa wasn't going to beat the Ultimate Warrior? How dare you, sir?
Again, see, that would be something I know nothing about right there. What you just said.
So what do you folks think about the idea we keep the Trivial Pursuit, the 80s Trivial Pursuit, and we let the listeners choose which category every week? How's that sound?
I like that.
Or do you have a different idea altogether for what a trivia challenge should be? Bear in mind, if you come up with an idea, you also have to help source some sort of questions. I also need to work on what a suitable prize. I have Uncle Mike down pretty well. I know what a sweet prize is for Uncle Mike. For the Rock Lobster, I don't know. Woodworking, I got to come up with something cool for you
Get
now.
Him a
for
plane.
winning.
Get him a hammer.
Yeah, there you go. A hammer. I'm sure he doesn't have any of those.
Well, I am. My son wants me to get a bigger chainsaw, so I need like a 550 Husqvarna with a 32-inch blade on it. But other than that,
I could mock him,
I
Uncle.
don't know if you can part with that kind of bread just for a small victory.
I can mock him, Uncle Mike, and make the victory a championship wrestling style belt that he gets. So he has to wear the belt around the Giovinazzi compound as the champion.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, should I have to say, based on the shamefulness of my performance this year, do I have to send him the belt that I won 2 years ago?
That is unique. I have not seen that ever again. So that is a unique collector's item. Hold on to that for Grim Life, sir, out there. But what are your thoughts, listeners? You like that idea? You folks get to play along a little bit, and we'll keep the 80s vintage theme going with the old Trivial Pursuit box. I have the Wow, there it is right there. That's a sweet old school IC belt, sir. I think people would pony up some dollars. So there you go. I have to come up with the equivalent. Sweet. I have to come up with the equivalent for you, Mr. Rock Lobster.
You want this, Andrew?
I'm with just any kind of options insider swag. I'm a simple man.
We'll make it something suitably fun, listeners. So, give them up with an idea. What do you think is good for the Rock Lobster outside of some sort of anti-clam piratery gadget that we could come up with? But there you go, listeners. That is your winner of the 2025 Trivia Challenge. It didn't seem like the outcome was too much. Even though Uncle Mike put up a good fight towards the end, it seemed like he might have a way to claw out. But those last couple of hits for the Rock Lobster really cemented it. But let's see what is cementing things for the market on this first full trading week of the new year.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we break down what the heck is trading out there. And so far, it seems like a pretty strong start to the first full trading week of the year. Apparently, everyone had to buy stocks to start the year. That was just their American requirement. They had to do it to be an American. You got to buy some stocks because S&P up right now 0.2%. It was up even more earlier in the session out there. So pretty robust, nearly 50 handles out of the gate out there, and a little bit more earlier in the session. The Dow screaming north, up over 1.5% right now. And the NASDAQ up about 0.2%. So things looking spicy. Speaking of spicy, VIX cash at about a 1480 right now. That puts it up about 0.3 of a point from where it was at the end of our show last week. Of course, no Thursday show, just Uncle Mike and I on the Monday show to wrap up the year last year. Of course, as I said at the end of the year last year, really, that, watch out. January kind of comes in like a lion. We've had all sorts of unknown curveballs hit us in January in the last few years, and this year looks like it's no exception. Apparently, over the weekend, we now are in possession of Venezuela, whatever that means. So the market's shrugging all that off. Vol looking a little bit spicier as a result. Obviously, it's a looming question for the energy markets as well, but crude's kind of mostly unched as well out there, which is kind of interesting. So far, pretty major news and not really having much reverberation throughout the market out there. But let's go out to the winner, the champion, El Campeon of the 2025 80s Trivia Challenge, a.k.a. the Rock Lobster himself. Mr. Rock Lobster. Well, apparently the clam pirates have seized him. Oh, there he is. I was going to say otherwise. I was going to have to
around my office sometimes.
He's a wanderer. Mr. Rock Lobster, we'll start with your thoughts on today in a second. But Uncle Mike and I had the opportunity last week to really ruminate on the mad year that was 2025. We went deep, talked all sorts of fun highlights and lowlights from the year. So before we start with this year's madness, if there's anything that really resonates to you from last year. Could be markets, could be options, could be vol, whatever catches your eye and resonates to you from last year. Have at it. And then B, what is catching your eye in a pretty firm start out of the gate for the new year?
I mean, from a market point of view, AI technology and, what I think really is like the end of the silicon chip demand cycle. It used to be like a cyclical business. And if you look at, the SMH, close to all-time highs. And the demand for these AI chips are kind of keep going. It dragged Micron up. Micron just happens to be in the sweet spot because they needed that type of chip to to support like the Nvidia chips and but however it all goes, there seems to be an endless demand for this kind of information economy stuff. So there's that. We also had the new president, which saw the highest vol we've seen since the last time he was president, when we had COVID. Overall, though, but the market still ended up closing on all-time highs. And ultimately, the market kind of votes either with its hands or its feet. And this time, it was voting for its hands by the end of the year. And, even after this little Maduro raid, stocks are still going up. So what I would say is most of the naysayers, I'm kind of feeling we're wrong at this point. If you weren't an equity buyer, you were kind of sad. Interest rates did manage to edge lower a little bit by the end of the year. As far as some of I think there was a lot of things that didn't come to pass that people wanted or people were expecting, good or bad. Like the Doge was going to come in and cut government spending. And now by the end of the year, we discover like government, and who knows where the money goes. Okay. From either party, wherever, nobody knows. But there was a lot of hope on that. And then, it kind of fizzled. The second part is like the whole trade thing was going to be a disaster. Turns out it wasn't such a disaster. And Congress ultimately ends up winning by having the lowest approval rating in history, I think. So the politics part is out there, but ultimately the market part, corporate earnings were really good. And ultimately, when corporate earnings are really good, stocks go up. And most years they are. So right now, besides another year of kicking the can down the road with the deficit and the budget and all that kind of stuff, 2026 starts out, I would say, I'm not going to say more hopeful than 2025, but I think the worst things that we thought about in 2025 that would come to pass, none of them really did, unless I missed something. And I think overall that's good. And now we're looking forward to 2026. And I think, do we have midterm elections this year? I think so, right? 2026 midterms.
We do indeed. Yes, sir.
And we'll see how it all goes. But as of right now, volatility ended up closing at year lows, literally year lows at the end of the year. And the market closed at close to an all-time high, if not all-time high. So, I mean, that's how we start the year, kind of on a little bit of a run. I do think some of the valuations in big tech might get a little tired, but we'll see what kind of earnings they generate this year, because we should start to see if all that AI spend is worthwhile. So, and I think that's where we find ourselves. I think I'm probably a little bit more hopeful. There was a lot of the last election. There was a lot of, coming off of that in 2024, 2025. There's less of it now. I think. And strangely enough, the only things that Biden and Trump could agree on was arresting Maduro. Trump started with a $15 million bounty, and Biden upped it to $25 million. So who would have thought that on their bingo card? The only thing those two guys would agree on. So I didn't even know there was a bounty on his head at all. But anyway, and that is where I will say I will end 2025 with that.
All right, before we wrap up officially 2025, listeners, we have the numbers in our hot little hands from our friends over there at OCC. Remember our buddy, the Flow Master, on the show a few weeks ago was talking about trying to pinpoint the exact moment when or if we cross the 15 billion contract threshold. Again, just an absolutely wild number to say out loud. And first off, before we get to the total for the year, if we got there or not, let's reveal December. Was December a banger? The answer was decidedly yes. Nearly 1.3 billion contracts changing hands, listeners. 1.298 billion to be precise. That's up from 1.1 billion in December of 2024, nearly 18% increase, which in and of itself, 1.1 billion at the time was an absolute explosive number, especially for December. And this year says, hold my bear, kid, which is pretty much a theme for the year. The last year's ADV was about 48.75 million contracts a day. Today, or I should say this year, or really last year, they blew that away. Listeners, coming in 2025, they said 60.8 million contracts a day was the ADV out there, listeners. So absolutely rock'em sock'em numbers. That's up nearly 25%. So guess what? Year-to-date volume also up nearly 25%. Last year, 12.2 billion contracts with the B changing hands. This year, almost exactly 3 billion contracts more, 15.2 billion contracts out there. Technically is 12.28 last year, or 2024, and 15.26. So not quite 3 billion or exactly 25%, but pretty freaking close out there. 15.26 billion contracts changing hands last year. If you're wondering, equity options about 8.25 billion. That's up about nearly 27% year over year. ETF options 5.6 billion. That's up about 22%. Index options 1.25 billion. It's up about 20%. And futures, once again, something I was talking about with our buddy Mr. Vixologist on vol views last week. Futures, one of the lone dark spots on the derivatives landscape last year. They couldn't really catch a bid. Net volume was actually down 5.6% from 2024. A lot of reasons for that. Maybe potentially 0-day cannibalizing some of the use case for it. For whatever reason, VIX futures couldn't really catch a volume bid in 2025. Will that continue this year? We shall see. So some hot numbers out of the gate to wrap up the year. Mr. Uncle Mike, do you have any thoughts on that kind of stunning number, 15.25 billion contracts changing hands last year? And then B, what is catching your eye to start the new year, sir?
Was that for Tosaw you threw that to?
That was Tosaw, but he is muted, and I think he's drinking heavily to start the new year. Mr. Uncle Mike, are you there, sir? I know he's...
Well, he's just getting ready for the next trivia challenge.
He's just totally still bearing the pain of the loss. I get it. But Uncle Mike, we have to roll on.
Andrew's playbook. If I mute and have the mute button on, then I might have a better chance of winning. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yes, if you never answer, then maybe you have a better chance of winning. There we go.
That's right. It's kind of like the lottery. You have a slightly better chance of winning if you play.
There you go.
So, I mean, so far with the year starting out the way with which it has, we're not at the all-time highs that we were way back last or a week and a half ago on December 26th, but we're roughly 0.5% away from all-time highs in the S&P. So that is something to put a feather in our cap for a way with which we are starting out the year this year, but we're definitely positive to start the year off. In terms of the craziness that happened over the weekend with us capturing the dictator, the market apparently likes it. I've always felt that, maybe not always, but I feel that if you really want to get an unbiased news report, don't watch Fox, don't watch CNN, watch a chart of the SPX. That'll give you a very unbiased view of what's actually happening in the world as to whether it's good or bad for the market, so to speak. So that's something that's happening. Silver creeping up around the 70 level again. We did cross 70 again earlier today, but we are still looking at high silver prices. I'll be interested to see if we can crack past this mark. For the last couple of weeks, or a little over a week now, we've had the 70 mark that's kind of been holding silver back. And not sure what's going to happen with this. Time will tell, but that's definitely going to be something that's going to be interesting to watch in the new year, to say the least. In terms of what's pushing this market up on the day, we actually have XLK, the technology sector, that's only up 0.3 on the day. However, financials are killing it. We have XLF up almost 2.7% on the day. So we're getting a lot of movement there to the upside. And also, this one's actually not much of a surprise. We are getting some upside pop in the energy sector. XLE is up roughly 3% on the day. So we are getting moves to the upside, but it's not coming from technology, which sounds kind of weird to say, but after all, it is a new year. We could have some differences happening throughout the year this year, but nonetheless, that is what I am seeing so far this year.
Let's see what we are seeing out there in the old options market to kick off this brand new trading year. Is it a wild start to the year? The answer was, yeah, it's not bad. You know, it's respectable, all things considered. We'll get to the single names in a second, but let's kick things off as we like to do. In VIX land, listeners, 450,000 contracts out of the gate in VIX land today. That's not nothing, especially when you see that the ADV has dropped to right around 750,000 contracts. So only 300K more to hit that today. I think we definitely have a fair shot at doing that. Again, that 1 million level we were hanging out at for a while, that's usually unsustainable in the long term for VIX unless things are really rocking. Now, you could argue maybe what's going on the geopolitical side, and of course, maybe some upcoming economic numbers could get us back up to those levels. But right now, still hanging out right around 750,000. But up 450 today. By the way, if you're wondering what the hot option out there in VIX land is today, it's the Jan 24. It's going up about 25,000 times. Average price for these about a quarter. So 24 seems pretty far up there these days. 27 cents also seems maybe kind of rich for that. But then again, that could be closing paper. There is size OI on the strike. Somebody could be deciding, get the heck out of Dodge, keep their roughly a quarter left while they can and live to fight another day out there. Maybe someone's swinging for some upside. Remember, at the end of the day, Jan is a very short trading cycle. So bear that in mind if you're out there buying juice in January. You're not getting a lot of time for it. SPY. 5.65 million contracts on the tape. The ADV a little bit north of 9. So a decently active day in SPY land as well. The S, 2.6 million. The ADV a little bit north of 4, about 4.1 million. Small caps looking hot out of the gate today, listeners, making up for some lost time. Small caps, 1.25 million already. The ADV in small caps is 1.5 million, and they're almost already there. My goodness, small caps on fire. By the way, if you're wondering, small caps up 1.75%, so that probably has a little bit to do with it. The hot option in small caps land right now is 72,000 of the 252 calls changing hands earlier this morning for 37 cents. Right now, IWM is 253.10, so I think, yeah, you'd probably buy those for 37 cents if you could right now. That'd be a heck of a screaming buy, but small caps looking hot. What about the Qs? Are the Qs looking hot? The answer is yes. 3.4 million contracts changing hands already. That's against an ADV of a little bit north of 5, about 5.1 million. So the Qs, pretty much everything pretty hot out of the gate today. You know, the market's hot out of the gate and volume firing off and following along with it pretty much out here, listeners. All right, but now the moment you have been waiting for, among many. You wanted the payoff, of course, for the trivia challenge for 1980s trivia. Now you want to know, is it a hot day in single name land? And the answer is yeah. Like I said, it is north of our threshold for respectability. That's all we can ask from a market at the end of the day. Can you be respectable? The answer today is yes. You kick things off. Cost you 366,000 contracts to break into the top 10. That gets us to our old pal Intel. Intel popping today. Well, it was. I think it kicked off around, got up to close to 42 cents in the early kind of pre-morning session. hanging out right now, 39.5, up about 39.65, just ticked up about a quarter right now. So it's had quite the range today. 42.10 to the upside, 39.25 to the downside, hanging out 39.64 right now. So an interesting start to the day. I got a feeling it's going to be a bit of a trend. Hot out of the gate and then maybe a little bit more lukewarm for some of these names we're talking about. Either way, number 10, Intel, 366 on the tape. Number 9, AMD, turning to the dark side now, 221.5, off $2 exactly, or almost 1%. Was as high as 234 in the early session today. So interesting. So I'm not sure exactly when it got there. I don't see it on my chart, but looks like it shows the high today being 234. So wild stuff out here in AMD. Either way, number 9, 394 on the tape for AMD. Number 8, our old pal, the Monster. Are they coming for crypto today, or are they bidding it up? The answer is the latter. The Monster, number 8, 431,000 contracts today. It's popping about 4 1/3, about 2 3/4%, trading right around 161.5 right now. So all things crypto looking hot out of the gate to start the year as well. If you want more crypto fun, stay tuned. We'll be back after the old OB to talk all things crypto for the new year. On number 7, Uncle Mike's favorite holding. We need another awesome poll to pit Palantir against this year, because Uncle Mike loved our Nvidia Palantir last year. By the way, we revealed the results of that one and everything else we asked you on our end of year spectacular that came out last week. So make sure you check that out if you want to see what you folks thought and how you voted on all of the hot issues of the day last year. Where was vol going to be? Do we need a strategic crypto reserve? What's going to win, Nvidia or Palantir? Should you sell the Apple par puts? All sorts of wild stuff. Will the shutdown be longer or shorter? Were you folks on the right side of history? Check it out. It was a fun time crunching all of that data for you folks. But right now, Palantir was a hot one last year. Coming in number 7, 435,000 contracts on the tape so far. 173 3/4, so gaining back nearly $6, about 3.5%. They took Palantir to the woodshed last week. If you heard them on hot out of the gate on the hot options report, got down to about 166 on Friday. So they smoked it, getting some of that back today. Palantir, number 7. What is a name we could pit Palantir against in another poll? We'll have to mull that over so Uncle Mike can have a fixation for the year outside of silver. Number 6, it's the fruit company. They're also coming for this one today a little bit as well, which is interesting. I show it hit a high of 271.5 this morning, trading 267.25 right now, off about 3 3/4 or 1.4%. You know, it takes a lot to turn Apple red, especially on a day when the market is decidedly green. So that is kind of interesting. You know, you come in today, you see the headlines, you look at the raw index numbers, you think, man, this market's looking kind of robust. Then you start peering under the hood a little bit, and perhaps all is not as it appears. Either way, number 6, it is the fruit company, listeners, aka Apple. 497,000 contracts on the tape for them. Number 5, our old pal SoFi. They're popping again, about $1.70 up to about $29.15, up over 6%, putting up 509,000 contracts. Apparently, they forgot that the company just came and dumped a boatload of stock at the 30 handle recently. So that would seem to set a near-term ceiling for them, but apparently not today. They're popping nearly $2. Number 4, the Amazonians. 232.65, up 6.15 or 2 3/4% right now, putting up 517,000 contracts for the number 4 spot. So a hot day for the Amazonians. Number 3, I haven't talked about this name in a long time. New Holdings Limited. Our old buddies out of Sao Paulo, trading right around $18, up about $1 or about 5.6%. So hot day. Oh, they got a buy rating from Goldman. That was 3 days ago. I'm not sure what's driving them up, but either way, more buyers and sellers in Uncle Mike's other favorite, New Holdings. Number 2, speaking of end names, it's Nvidia, turning red now for the day. 187.90, off about $1 or 0.5%. They were popping up to about 190, actually 193.63 earlier today. So giving up some of that ghost right now, putting up 1.34 million contracts. For the number 2 spot, that means number 1, once again, it's our old pal Tesla. This name has been wild to end the year. They're up or down 15, 20 handles a day, it seems like these days. Off very little news. Trading 455 2/3, up 17.5 or 4%. The main headline on it is out of Barron's just a few hours ago. Tesla stock could be $80. Could be worth just $80, I should say. But the stock is rising nonetheless. That's the headline. That's kind of the year for Tesla in a nutshell right there. They can't really move EVs, but they're trying to pivot into the Robovins and the AIs of the world and everything else like that. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Either way, the bull's back in force, even though all the folks who threw money away on the par calls last month, the DSPARs, not exactly super happy campers. 1.41 million contracts on the tape for all things Tesla. And now it's time to kick things off with the very first odd block of 2026.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, let's get weird. Let's get wild. Mr. Rock Lobster, let's kick things off with how about the return of an old favorite, a name we haven't talked about in a while. Remember our old pal Peloton, sir?
Yes.
Haven't talked Peloton in forever, but we're going to do so today, sir. Peloton trading $6.32, so close to 2x what it was the last time we really dove deep into them on the network when we were talking about selling that weekly straddle for around 30 cents. 10% with just a couple of days to go, and nobody in our audience wanted to touch it with a 10-foot pole. I recall that. Looking a little bit better right now, 632, up about 20 cents or 3% today. On the year, it's still off, though. It got as high, it was 891 a year ago, so they got as high last year on Valentine's Day. Another name that peaked at Valentine's Day, right around 10 and a quarter, and then they came for it, cut more than in half. April 8th, they got down to exactly $5. So, man, they came for it. Then they rallied it. September, they got back up to $9, September 30th. And then they fell out of bed again, back to 632. So this name's had a few fits and starts along the way. Mr. Rock Lobster, looks like somebody's taking another bite at the apple today. This time doing it a little bit differently. They came in this morning and said Jan 2027 10 calls. So going out a full calendar year, listeners. How are they? They got 73 cents at 82. They said, I will trade 23,500 of these for, I shouldn't be, 73 cents at 89, excuse me. They said, I will trade 23,500 of these at 82 cents. So kind of splitting the uprights, which is kind of interesting. Next earnings, I should say, are on February 5th. So they got a lot of earnings between now and next January. Roughly 4, I would think, unless they get their change coming that Trump's been talking about. So interesting stuff. Mr. Rock Lobster, 82 cents. For the Jan 10s, I suppose, A, do you like them? And B, which way do you like them, as a buyer or a seller?
What's weird is I think this particular trade, it's not clear about buy or sell side. Now, at the time of execution, I'm seeing the 10 calls going up 81, 83, 10. So there was definitely, they are calling them buy because they kept stepping the bid up on them. And the 23,000 traded once they cleared a bit of a market out afterwards. So I look buy. I'm actually quite long this stock, to be fair to the listeners.
Really? You're riding the PTON train. When did you get in, sir?
Like around 7-ish. So it's not looking really good right now. But I rolled a bunch of calls to Jan 10s actually for, I don't know, for like, I think I took a loss on the calls. I basically bought 6 more months. So,
so this is you. This 23,000 lot is you.
It's I don't own quite that many. But yeah, I just think these are one of the stocks that, they have a network of live users that they'll some way leverage for AI. So I think there's some hidden value there. Plus Peloton is profitable now for the first time since 2020. So I think the business will be worth something. I don't think it's an over. It's what I would call a stock turnaround play. But at $6, I don't think you have, pretty tremendous risk. And they started, they finally kind of righted the ship a little bit. So anyway, I am long these 10s though.
Maybe we'll have to ask our audience if they like these as a buy or a sell. But obviously, the stock topped out around $10 last year, so the 10 overwrite for 82 cents. Not the worst thing either. So which way do you prefer it? Let's keep going. Let's go out to Enovix. Enovix Corp. Ticker symbol ENVX. I think this is a newcomer. Let me do a quick scan here really quickly, listeners. No, this is something else. So yeah, I think this is a newcomer here. That's what I thought. Enovix, ticker symbol ENVX, trading $8.50, up about 60 cents or 7.4%. Yeah, I'm looking here. The chart right now looking pretty good today. On the year, bit of a dumpster fire, off nearly $4, about 32%. They were pretty much exactly about 14 and a third this time a year ago, and they sold off in April to 5.25. So they got shellacked. Then they rallied it pretty hard. July 17th up to nearly $16 again, actually 16.5 intraday. So that was their high for the year. Then they sold off $8 and change in September again, September 12th. Rallied them again October 15th, 13.19. This one's a wild one. I have to dig into this one a little bit. But what did we spot out here? We got some near-term upside flying fast and furious, listeners. Somebody came in and said, I ain't got time to wait. Give me those Jan 10s expiring on the 9th. And they got a market of 8 cents at 11, said, I will pay 11 cents, good sir, 5,000 times. The stock was $8.50, $8.56 right now, so they're off slightly on the stock, so they're probably not loving that. No earnings, so there's no obvious catalyst. So Mr. Rock Lobster, here's the question on everyone's lips. Why do they have to have these right now expiring on Friday, sir?
This cold is killing me. There's a little bit of action in lithium batteries, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's around because of the Venezuelan incident, but there is some alternative energy action happening today across many stocks. So, I think it's a cheap shot on this company. I think there's some kind of battery maker or something like that. But it's one of those early stage type companies, but it could, I don't think these are reasonable speculation, but I mean, ultimately you only got a few days here. So I don't know if I would like buying the Jan 09s, but,
somebody's chasing in Enovix. Do you want to chase as well, listeners? Are you saying sold to you? As we keep on going, it is our first strategy block of the new year.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, Mr. Uncle Mike, the floor is yours. How do you want to commence 2026 outside of just bemoaning your performance from last year in the Trivia Challenge, sir?
Well, it's kind of interesting when you look at it that way, because if I'd have gotten 2 more questions right, because I think I lost by 4 points, if I had just gotten 2 more of them right, that would have been the 4 points.
That's all it took. I told you at the end of the year, you got to bring your A game, and maybe a couple in the middle of the year too, when you went on that massive losing streak. Probably a couple more of those would have helped.
Yeah, I'll sound like the head coaches after they lose the football games. We just got to play better. We got to coach better. We got to play better, and I just got to get the questions right.
I think you would have won if you didn't lose, sir.
That is very true. Had I not lost, I think I could have won.
That's the best coaching wisdom ever. We would have won if we didn't lose.
No doubt. Well, in terms of strategy for this year, I want to talk briefly about nonlinear time decay differential. And the reason I bring that up, if you believe that the VIX is at a lower level, or I should say volatility in general, because the VIX doesn't represent all volatility, but let's say that you believe that volatility is lower and that it could go higher. One of the things that I would recommend taking a look at, if you do believe this, is perhaps doing more things along the lines of calendar spreads or diagonal spreads. The reason I say that is because let's say you were to do a calendar spread, meaning you were to buy a 6-month option and sell a 1-month option. Well, by doing that, theoretically, if everything stays the same, if the underlying stays the same, then the trade will be profitable. And let's say it's all at the money. It'll be profitable after the 1 month is over because the time decay in the 1 month option will expire faster than the time decay in the 6 month option. Now, this could work if you believe volatility is at a lower level, because then what you're doing is you are locking in the lower volatility for 6 months. And then after 1 month of volatility is higher, assuming everything else stays the same, of course, just trying to oversimplify this a little bit. If volatility is increased after 1 month, then for the next month of this trade, then you can sell premium at a higher level, and volatility had benefited the longer term option. So, what I want to go through today, or I just want to emphasize today in the first strategy block of the new year, is that if you believe that volatility is at a lower level, then perhaps consider doing something along the lines of a calendar spread or a diagonal spread to take advantage of that. Now, if you believe volatility is higher, then you may want to consider doing something along the lines of a vertical spread. And that is the first strategy block of the new year. They're looking forward to the next 51 of them.
All right, and let's keep on rolling into our first around the block of 2026.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what we're keeping an eye on for the rest of this week. And we can expand it. It's our first one of the new year. We can expand it to say what we're keeping an eye on for the rest of the year. Really quickly here to kick things off, we thought we'd have fun with our first question of the week. We will officially launch our VIX end of year closing poll and pay off the winner of last year's contest on Vol Views on Friday. So look forward to that, listeners. Start thinking of your VIX number for the end of the year now. But our fun out of the gate question of the week is quite simply, what are your trading or markets oriented resolutions for 2026? We gave you a few suggestions. You can, of course, write in with your own. We gave you 3 choices and the infamous other. You want to reduce positions in AI? Do you want to maybe explore global markets? Do you want to trade some new option strategies? Or, of course, other? Just went live a little bit ago. And right now, 75% of you are saying you want to trade new option strategies in the new year. 25% say you want to reduce your positioning in AI in your portfolio. No love for exploring global markets. It just went live a few minutes ago, listeners. So get over there at options. Oh, by the way, we asked you last week, this first new trading day of the new year on Friday, we asked you, how long does it typically take you to stop writing 2025 on everything, which is always a problem this time of year. 50% of you said about a week. 25% said about 2 to 3 weeks, and then a tie, 12.5% between about 1 month and never. Some of you never get over. I love you never, folks. That's hilarious to me. Mr. Rock Lobster, how long does it take you to stop writing 2025 on everything? And then B, as we kick off this new trading year, what are you looking forward to or maybe dreading this year in the market, sir?
I'm about a week or so with 2026.
Yeah, I fall in that 1 to 2 week time frame myself, I think.
Yeah, right around there. I'm like, you do it and you go, and then after a while you stop doing it. What am I looking forward to? I am looking forward to getting the market getting somewhat away from the Magnificent Seven and a little into some other names. And really seeing how this AI pays some dividends. I am looking for less volatility this year than we saw last year. I think by a factor, like half as much. Those are the biggest. I see a lot of potential in oil and biotech valuations, in a lot of outdoor goods. Like people, I think there's going to be a move away from the cell phones to some degree, and seeing like more people doing things less with their phone, getting more outdoors. So there's a lot of like outdoor stuff. So those are like some of the themes for me for this year. I started seeing some of those trends last year, and also seeing processed food getting healthier, less bad, so to speak. So that's those are some of the trends I think we should see in 2026.
And where should folks go if they want more Rock Lobster goodness this year, sir?
Yes, optionpit.com, 888-TRADE-01. I trade all my products. Like I said, one of my flash products was Peloton, although I was 7.5. I do have some time on it, and I was up some decent money on them earlier, and I didn't sell them, and the stock, I think, went from 9 and change down to $6 again. But I see still long it, so I think we'll see some action out of that one.
Check them out, op.com, to learn more, listeners, optionpit.com. Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you. What are you looking forward to or perhaps dreading in the markets this year? B, how long does it take you to stop right in 2025 on everything? And then C, where should folks go if they want more Uncle Mike goodness in their lives, sir?
Looking forward to seeing how the lower interest rates, should they come, affect this market. Because I would definitely love nothing more than to refinance a lot of things if we do have lower interest rates. That's for sure. So looking forward to that potentially, as the president has promised. We'll see if it comes through or not. In terms of how long does it take me to stop writing 2025, I'm still writing 2023, so I'm still working on it.
You're in the never camp.
So, no, I would say probably a week or two. So, I mean, there's usually some annual paperwork I got to do with clients this time of year. So there'll probably be some 2025s going out there, that's for sure. But with DocuSign, it makes it a lot easier to do typically. And then in terms of what I'm watching in the near-term markets, I think we just need to keep an eye on Venezuela. I think we need to keep an eye on, well, not Venezuela, keep an eye on what's happening in Venezuela, I should say. Keep an eye on the metals. And then just the peculiar thing about today, this is not a technology-driven rally. So we just got to see where the money is within the sectors. So that's what I'm watching. And if you'd like to get a little bit more Uncle Mike in your life, as you put it, go to stcharleswealth.com. Would love to have a conversation with any of our listeners in terms of financial planning. And for all my content, check out my YouTube channel. Updates will be coming in the new year.
Check out Uncle Mike on the old tubes. And of course, while you're checking things out online, check out our friends over there at Tasty Trade, tastytrade.com/podcast. Gonna be hearing a lot more about the Tasty folks in the new year. And again, it's a new year. It's a good time to check out all of the folks who help bring you this content throughout the year. Yeah, we couldn't do it without the folks who are out there paying for it. So make sure you check out the friends over there at Tasty Trade, tastytrade.com/podcast. Tell them we sent you. It's a virtuous circle. It helps everybody at the end of the day, listeners. And go check out all the folks who help bring you this content throughout the year, listeners. Without them, it ain't coming to you for 19 and next year, how wild, 20 years. Speaking of things coming at you, we'll be back in about an hour to talk all things crypto and the wild and woolly crypto markets. Is it a wild start to the new year? Well, we just broke down the monster. So what do you think? Going to be a hot one. And then, of course, back to wrap up the first full day of the first full trading week of the new year on the Hot Options Report. Then we're back with some hot stuff out of the gate tomorrow. The first journey to Europe tomorrow on the European Market Brief of the new year, followed, of course, by, for all of our pro friends, an awesome pro Q&A with our buddy, Mr. Stay Vigilant himself. He's still nursing his wounds from not making it into the playoffs on our fantasy football. Who am I talking about? Mr. Rich Excel, a.k.a. Excel with Options. So check that out. Should be an awesome pro Q&A. Start getting your questions in now. If you're not part of the pro, look what you're missing out at. Of course, Vol Deathmatch is coming this month, listeners. So Vol Deathmatch 2.0, you definitely want to be there for that. The optionsinsider.com/pro. Back again with all that fun. And then we're back again on Thursday, Flowmaster in hand, for the first time in the new year. We'll see you then. And of course, stay safe out there, everybody.
Old trading walks into a bar. New trading raises it. That's Tasty Trade. Keep focused with news feeds that matter. See opportunity differently in analysis mode. Chart your heart out with over 300 indicators. Plus, you can get low pricing, lots of education, and a support team that really gets how traders trade. It's no wonder Investopedia named Tasty Trade the best broker for options in 2024. Genius loves company. Go to tastytrade.com/podcasts and see for yourself. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.